Well, welcome everybody. I am Sally and I'm introducing you to my guest, Tiiu Wise. I am so excited about this episode of Sally Speaks Mindset because Tiiu and I have known each other for I think about 6 months even, maybe a bit longer. But what I really loved about Tiiu was how open she is and her energy that she brings forward because she's really an energetic healer. She's a guide, a consultant, and a certified energy code life coach. So we'll dig into that to find out exactly what that's all about. But she's on a journey to awaken your spirit and heal your body and live your best life. And as I've got to know Tiiu, what I've recognized is how tapped in she is, regardless of whether I'm on Zoom with her or in person, how in tune she is with what's going on with my body and being able to give me some advice and some ideas on how I can actually, like bring my shoulders so that they're not all tense or just understand what's going on just by intuitively seeing me and how tapped in she is to that energy. So I'm really excited about this. She is like myself in that beautiful stage of our life. We're over 60 and we've worn many hats. And Tiiu, for those of you that don't know, she was a renowned opera singer in her homeland of Estonia. And I think that's just incredible. But I also know there was some ups and downs within that career that set you up for how you're growing going forward. She was also a makeup and dog food salesperson, a registered massage therapist, and a medical Qigong teacher. I always say that word wrong, don't I?
Yeah, Qigong.
I always say that one wrong, but it's a beautiful one. So, what really lights up her life right now is guiding and teaching spiritual seekers who have long sought happiness and healing, but still feel like something is missing. So, welcome to you. I'm so excited today on how this is going to go. And I know that it'll flow just beautifully because we're both very intuitive, but I know that your energy brings forward whatever is needed at this particular time for the audience. So, this is going to be just a beautiful journey. And so I wanted to just start with asking you some things about what's the core of your teachings, because I know that you've got so many different modalities that you're using, but what's really at the true core of what you're teaching?
That's a good question. And thank you for this wonderful introduction. I was like, oh, did I all do that? Okay. And when people ask me that, so who are you? I just am. So the core teachings, I want to help people. I want to help sort of people to know that there is a way out of suffering, and there is a way to live in joy and peace.
Mm,
And we don't have to suffer the way we're suffering. It seems like we come to this human form,
mhm.
and we encounter all these problems all our lives. And so I had my fair share of that. In my 30s, I was um, suicidal. I didn't know how to
Mm,
go on with life because it just I had arrived in a strange country from Estonia, and I came to Canada. And so, and then it was sort of like obviously I didn't go through with it, um, and that triggered this search and this going down the rabbit hole. Like, so
mm,
what can we do? Like, it can't be right that we come
yeah.
here. And so, in a nutshell, what I help people to do is to connect their mind, body, and breath and
Mm,
get out of their heads and
yes.
start living in the whole system, the whole body. And it's
Mhm.
not an easy task because when we come to this world, it's almost like we're flooding. It's like we come from this mother's womb, and we're so warm and cozy and fed and taken care of, and all of a sudden these bright lights and you
Mhm.
come into this world, and it feels like we're flooding, whereas our body and the mind and the spirit they just go in different directions.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, and that's kind of an interesting concept. And I kind of know it because a few years ago I had this vision of myself
Hmm.
being conceived at the moment of conception. Like, call me crazy, but
Hmm.
I was meditating. I usually never get any visions or anything.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden I saw myself as this ball of light and entering my mother's womb at the moment when, yeah, my mother and father was having sex right beside me there. I was like, whoa,
Hmm.
okay. And this vision, it was really cool. And after that, it's like, yes, we are the light. So how we get into this feeling that I am the light and
Hmm.
um, out of my head, that's my new passion after dog for sales and opera singing and
Yeah.
massage therapy and whatever else I've done. It's like, I want to share
Mm.
that we don't have to suffer.
Awesome. So this is really interesting to me because I believe as a human race, we are so into our head. And the number of thoughts we have in a day, I don't know the exact number, but I know there's lots of stats out there if anybody wants to dig into that. But the number of thoughts that we have in the day and the number of negative thoughts or limiting beliefs that we have that hit us every day versus opening ourselves up to the possibility or what's in the future, as opposed to, for me, most thoughts are from something that's happened in the past that I'm bringing forward into the current time that prevent me from doing what I need to do to move forward in my life, or to understand that that was a learning from the past and I'm moving forward. But how do we actually get out of our head and just into our heart and body? Because that to me would be like just the epitome of freedom and joy.
Yes. And that's a good question. How do we do that? We have to use our breath and our body
Mm-hmm.
because the connection, how we get into the present moment or to the body is the breath. And breath is spirit. In many languages, it's actually is a spirit, the respirare is it's breath,
Okay.
breathing in Italian language, and then spiritus sanctus, spirit, respiration, inspiration. It all has to do with spirit and breath. Somehow we have these clues for centuries and we don't use it, and people don't want to practice breathing. So like when I work with my clients, the first thing I do is I teach them how to breathe and be aware of our breath.
Mm.
And I'm sure you noticed that when you are agitated or when you're like upset about something, the breath goes really rapid and shallow.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're calm and falling asleep, we're breathing deep in the belly
Mm-hmm.
and very slow. And exhalation is longer. So that's the first step. What I do is to teach people how to do lower belly breath. And
Oh.
even though it seems so easy, but it's not,
Mm-hmm.
because we are disconnected from the lower part. We live in our head, and the lower part is cut off from the throat. That's why sometimes we can't speak our truth. We can't hear the truth of the universe, what's telling us. And we have all kinds of issues with manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
Manifestation comes from here. This is kind of a opening between the divine self and the human self. We're starting to come here, and there's where we manifest, we speak our truth into the world, so to speak. So we want to kind of open up all these pathways, these tubes. We are
Mm-hmm.
really just a tube of energy, and then we start opening it up from the top to the throat and opening the heart and the belly, and then breathing into the belly. So that is like a very first step, what I would always teach people to do. And then we start talking about how the energy flows in the body, that comes from the top, from the heaven, from the universe,
Mm-hmm.
from the sky, whatever you want to call it. The, the, the divine self is kind of coming into the body. And so it hits the earth and starts coming up. And then you were talking about these thoughts. What kind of limiting us and holding us back for some reason. And they are in our subconscious mind. And our body is really a subconscious. So it does, like it goes on autopilot, right? We don't need to make our heart beat, or we don't make our food digest in the system, right? It's like there is this stuff happening in the body what we can't control. What we can control is our breath.
Yes.
And it is also the autonomic, and it's also that we can control it. So it's like a link between the worlds almost, the spiritual world and the physical world, the manifest world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the breath. And then, of course, I teach how to get yourself locked into that central channel, this tube where the energy flows.
That's
So,
really interesting. And
mhm.
no, I know when I do guided meditations, I do a lot just from YouTube. I go and find a guided meditation that I really like, and almost every single one starts out with some breath work.
Yes,
They
yeah.
all start with that to open you up to be able to get the flow going within your body. And I never really understood why there was always a breath work, but now it's very clear. As far
Yes,
as clearing those paths, opening you up, getting out of the head, getting into the body, and having that feeling of, okay, that's released now, and now I get to absorb and bring in what I'm looking for. I would think that that's what I would
yes,
find
yeah.
out.
And anatomically, it's actually, we're so well designed apparatus. Like the human body is just this miracle upon miracle. It's like I can't even believe how it all works, but it does. And so when we do belly breath, deep belly breath, it actually connects us to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is digest and rest, and relax, and feeling good and blissful and nurtured and feeling good. Just by doing it, we don't have to think in the head, I want to feel good. You just start breathing in the belly. Fill the belly with air. As you inhale and exhale, make it smaller, as you could just pull the belly button towards the spine almost. It's like, oh, I'm making it so tiny. And then I'm inhaling and filling the body, just the lower belly, and exhaling again and pulling the belly button towards the spine. And that naturally, automatically makes us calm down. Whereas if we breathe in the upper lobes of the lungs here, we're just up here, we activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight, flight, and freeze. This is why when something scary comes up in our life, our breath fastens, and everything just, we get in a high alert. All the blood is rushing into the legs so we can run away from the big tiger who's chasing us. And like you said, all this stuff from the past, there is a whole different process, what we kind of have to understand how it happens, that all kinds of um, traumas or childhood experiences, when they hit us and the nervous system can't figure out what to do with it, it just bottles it up, and sort of like, if we think there is like a trap door between the lower brain and higher brain and the conscious and subconscious, if the subconscious gets so flooded that it closes a trap door.
Oh,
And
okay.
so the higher self, the one what knows that everything is always good and nothing is ever outside of what I expected, and what outside of what I requested from my world, it doesn't have the connection anymore with the body. So that's what we call it, like limiting beliefs, or or blockages. It's not really even any belief really is limiting, because if you have to defend it, oh, we're all spirits and you don't know anything, that is another belief. So ultimately, we want to kind of just be and not have any beliefs, just being the light that we are. So, yeah, um, how to get there. So, I don't know, uh, if you were game to play with me for a little bit and then just experience in this moment what it would feel like to actually get into the body.
Right.
So think of something,
Okay.
and everybody who's listening, something that is upsetting you. Just things are not going the way I want them to go,
Okay.
or some person or whatever, and just think of it for a moment,
Mhm.
and then see if that reacts somewhere in the body. This thought, does it brings up any reaction?
Mm.
You feel anything anywhere?
A heaviness
Where?
from my shoulders down, sort of
Yeah, so it's
pulling me down.
yeah. So it's almost like the shoulders are connected to either throat or the heart chakra, the energy centers, what we have, and that's another topic.
Mhm.
There's so many different, it's all intertwined. So you feel it in the shoulders. And what we usually do is start figuring out how to not to feel it, how
Mm.
to get out of this heavy feeling, and why this person did that, or why didn't I do that, or why did somebody cut me off, and all these breaking,
Mhm.
calling them names. Instead of that, it's like, oh, my shoulders tighten me up. And now imagine you can take a breath from above your head. I know it's kind of weird, but above your head into these shoulders where the heaviness was,
Mm.
and just hug it from inside, as if you could just hug that area. And then mentally tell this area that I hear you now.
Mm.
And as you exhale, you take it mentally with you all the way through the belly and through the hips and legs and feet and 2 feet under
Mm.
where you're seated. And then I take a breath in from below into these shoulders or the heart or the throat, whatever that area. And just imagine you can just give it a little hug and say, oh, I love you. I hear you. And exhale through the top of the head. So it's
Okay.
going through the throat and all the way up. And then
Mhm.
inhaling, just once more, inhaling from the top into the shoulders, hugging it, and exhaling all the way down into the earth or 2 feet under, as far as the imagination can go. And
Mhm.
so this is if I die tomorrow and I haven't taught anybody else anything else, this is the thing I just want to tell everybody and teach them uh, to do.
Mhm.
Always ask the question, where in my body do I feel reaction? Instead of why, and oh, this happens
Mhm.
again, and oh, this not so good person, and blah, blah, blah. We go into the mind, and the body is left behind.
Mm. Okay.
So that
Yeah,
is
it's
this
very
little,
easy to not worry about the body because we
yes,
get so involved in our head or the task that we're doing, and that's where our complete focus is. And yet, if we just take that breath and work through that process, what does it take? Maybe a minute, 30 seconds to do that
ah,
process to get ourselves out of that tension or that worry or that fear or that doubt that we might have in our minds and be able to release that from our body. And like you're saying, some of the words you used that I heard were, I hear you, as
yeah.
like your body's talking to you, giving you a message. I hear you, I feel
Mhm.
you. And this is how we're going to clear it now. We're just going to take care of that. And the idea of giving yourself a hug in the throat or the shoulders or wherever your pain or anxiety may be sounds odd, but I mean it's just embracing yourself in a way, using your mind, I guess, or your breath or energy to just embrace that part of you so that you
Mhm.
have that ability to escape that tension, or I'll just use tension as an example, the tension that
Yeah.
might be growing within your body. And when
Mhm.
you do that, you then open up those gates or opportunities to attract that ease, that flow, that confidence, that feeling, whatever it is that you're lacking at that point in time, sort of clears that. Is that what I'm hearing? Am I getting it right? Or
Yes, yeah. It's like before we even come to this world, we are just energy.
Mhm.
So even before our nervous system is formed, it was energy and the same kind of pathways of energy. And when the energy gets compacted or sort of squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter, so it becomes the form. So
Mhm.
that's how all our organs and the nervous system and blood vessels and everything form. So it's almost like we go back to the true beginning when we
Mhm.
do these breaths. We just go back to being the formless, divine being
Mhm.
in this body. And actually, the best way to look at it is like imagining that I am this energy, I am this energy field, and I decided to make this body inside of it.
Mhm.
So a lot of times when we do the spiritual practices, or we do yoga and we do meditation and mindfulness and mindset work, even,
Mhm. Yep.
see, it has mind in it, right?
Mhm.
Everything to do with mind. So we're trying to figure out something what is not created by mind,
Mhm.
with a mind. And it's just like the mind is a wonderful tool. And at the same time, we have to use all the tools, the whole systems, the whole,
Mhm.
like engine has like pistons or whatever. It's like you got to use all of this stuff
Yes.
to make the manifestation in health and wealth and longevity and whatever we want to create. We can't figure it out in the head. It's like, okay, I'm
Mhm.
sitting there and meditating, and how do I feel in my body when I'm meditating? Or saying affirmations. That's another good thing. Like, it is, once we realize that there is something wrong with our life, we're not liking it, then we try to fix it.
Mhm.
And then we get into the self-help stuff,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yeah,
like we're
absolutely.
reading some books and doing meditation and doing yoga and doing that. And it's wonderful going for therapy, talking it out, and being able to actually start observing our thoughts. That's already a
Mhm.
good start. But when we really want to get to the front side of the model of evolution of consciousness, and start living as this soulful self,
Mhm.
we kind of have to start paying attention. What is my body feeling? Like, I tell myself, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm wise. I'm saying all these words over and over and over. Does it get past my throat and my heart and my belly? Does it actually feel right in my belly?
Mhm.
So that's what needs to happen, that we kind of connect the mind, body, and breath, and knowing that the soul. Well, I started out with the splat, like we come here and we're splatting, and this why now you also mentioned that people just seem to miss something. It's like I can't put my finger on it. It's like I have the money and I have the house and I have the love of my life and the kids are healthy and everything's okay. Still, what is happening? What is missing?
Mhm.
That's the soul that can't come back into the body, because we're thinking. The thinking mind
Mhm.
is like the ceiling fan. It goes whoa, 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 and the spirit, the soul is just hovering. It's like, is it okay to come in yet? Oh no, 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 not yet. So
Mhm.
that's why we go soul searching, because we
Uh-huh.
feel like something is missing and we're looking for
Mhm.
the stuff what we are.
Yes.
And I have this vision of it, like dog chasing its dog tail, right? It's like going around and around, like, oh, why can't I catch it? Because you are it, like you can't. So all these work we do so hard, and we try to fix and make
Mhm.
the lemonade out of lemons, and all this stuff is good, but it's still not getting us to the end result where you can be joyful and happy for no reason.
Mhm.
So that is my my goal and my passion, and to teach
Nice.
myself. Obviously, I'm not done yet.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I would be gone from this earth. I'm still evolving.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I go all over the place. I can talk about
No,
it for
that's,
like five
I love it
hours
because
straight, and it's
I'm
like,
just thinking about the element of that soul searching, because we hear a lot about that, right? We're soul searching, and really what we're trying to do is to get in line in with one of the soul, as opposed to believing that, I'll just use a business example where people are, trying to do all the things to get the end result. And it doesn't necessarily come to fruition for them because they're not in their soul space. They'll probably get some results, but to get to exactly where they want to be and with ease and flow, they would need to really tap into their inner soul and their inner being to become what they truly want to become and to serve in a way that's probably going to be much more impactful than what they're currently doing. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's a soul purpose, like doing something what it comes from the soul. And it sounds very nice and lofty, beautiful to say those things, but people would probably say, so how, what I'm going to do about it? And like how I'm going to live on my soul. So this way I'm teaching also people how to do the central channel breath. We did a little bit, the bringing in from the heaven and into the body and all that. But there is very tangible exercise we can actually do is use the body, the actual physical junk, what we have, muscles, what we know how to contract and stuff like that. So we lock ourselves or anchor ourselves in the central channel. And the more we breathe up and down in the central channel, the more we enliven the core, the internal. Actually, we are building photon density. Photons are the tiniest particles of the molecule, and so it's like that's what we are. Photon is part light and part form. They don't even know which it is. But by our focus, breath, just the mind putting in our breath and thinking and breathing in the central channel up and down actually builds the circuitry what we need to deal with conflict and manifestation and health and relationships and all this stuff. And it happens so that we have the central channel, and the channel is sort of like a home for all the other energy centers called chakras. I'm sure many people have heard of them. I dismissed them when I was younger, cycle, whatever, it's just some weird stuff. But now I know that chakras are these energy centers, and they actually manifestations of different levels of consciousness.
Okay.
So when we feel like, oh, I don't belong anywhere, it means like my root chakra, my belonging, my this world is my gig. I chose to come here. I landed in this body, and this is my gig. Doesn't matter what anybody tells me. And then we feel like we're alone or whatever. We're not nurtured by others, or our feelings are not validated. It's the second chakra, just below the belly button. And so on. It's like we feel like we don't have enough love, and nobody loves me, and I don't know how to love, and all this stuff. It's all in here. And so to lock ourselves into the central channel is these 4 locks. We can just practice them right now. So whoever listens, and for you too, that's how do we get into this blissful being? Like what the hell are we supposed to do? And so the first lock is the root lock. And it is for women, it's very familiar. It's the Kegel exercise. You squeezing your perineal muscle together. And if any guy is listening to it later on, so that's the muscle what you use when you go to the bathroom and you stop urine flow. So it's like the perineum, the pelvic bowl, that muscle. And you can squeeze it and lift it up towards the heart a little bit. That already, if you do it, your mind kind of drops right there because you're paying attention. Oh, what's going on there? It's kind of weird. What am I doing there? And so the mind needs something to do, some other thing that's thinking about tomorrow's problems. So it's like, okay, I'm landing in there. Then the second lock is like going right up the spine, and it's the heart lock. And that is a muscle when you do like push-ups or just squeezing the shoulder blades back and down. So you feel like this tension in the back, and that opens up your heart space, literally. So you're locked in there, you're holding on to it's called Mula Bandha, the root lock. I love the word Mula Bandha. It's the perineum muscle. You're just holding it, and then you're squeezing the shoulder blades, and then you start constricting your throat. It's the third lock. I know it's so much stuff to do at once, but it's just once you start doing it, it's not so hard. And you can hear yourself breathing. It's like a Darth Vader breath almost, like or snoring. I'm not really sleeping, but I'm snoring. Yeah, so it's a weird thing, but what all we want to do is we want our mind to land in the body. And then the fourth lock is the central brain, the third eye, what everybody wants to open and get into all this stuff. And how you feel that is you roll your eyes back and up as if you want to look over your head and feel the tension behind the eyes. Squeeze the mula bandha, squeeze the heart, hear yourself breathing in the throat, and roll the eyes up, and you feel the tension. And that's the fourth lock, and that's the center of the brain, the pineal gland, and all these good stuff, the vision without eyes and the true vision, so we can start seeing the truth in the world instead of judging it good or bad. And it's like that's a true vision, that's almost like 360-degree vision. We don't need to worry about that, but just to start imagining that I can just anchor myself in the center here, and then I can take a breath in from above into the body, through all these eyes and throat and heart, and exhaling through the holding of the mula bandha and exhaling into the earth. Yeah. Inhaling and exhaling into earth, and then taking a breath in from the earth up into the lower belly, into the heart, and exhale through the throat and eyes and all the way up 2 or 4 feet above, or even higher if you can. And inhale from above again, holding the mula bandha, and exhaling through that mula bandha, which is holding the perineum, and exhaling through that to go all the way down into the earth. So this is a central channel breath. Yeah. And I just noticed you breathe out through the mouth. It's better to breathe out through the nose as well.
Okay.
In through the nose, out through the nose. My Qigong master said your mouth is only for eating, singing, and talking. And so we need to use our nose.
Okay.
Only time we exhale through the mouth is when we are really upset or agitated, anxious. Like this straw breath, like really slowly letting it out and then doing it again. Yeah. Yeah.
So now I know that you've studied a lot. And what books have you studied that, are giving people lasting results, or that you feel are giving lasting results? Because there may be some people that want to just do some of their own research and find out some of the ideas that you've shared. So what books have you read that have helped you?
First, when I started, of course, this journey, I started studying anything about Buddha's teachings. So you can just research Buddha's teachings. You can read Dalai Lama books, or anything to do with Buddha. That was my first step when I started figuring out. It's like, okay, this life doesn't work like that for me. I need to do something. So I studied with Buddhist nuns in a temple, actually. And then, of course, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. This is like the first thing we have to kind of get into. Don't have to do anything. You can just go on living your life the way you want it. But just to start seeing that there is a way to separate yourself from your thoughts, is just being in this moment, knowing what I'm doing. I'm sitting on this chair and talking to Sally. And sort of like getting this enmeshment with our mind, kind of separate a little bit and start watching. It's like, wow, what's going on? So Eckhart Tolle books. Then Byron Katie, the work, she calls it, Byron Katie. The 4 questions you always ask. Every thought you come across in your mind. First, you have to start knowing that you're thinking.
Yes.
It's like the voice in the head. What voice? The one what just questioned it. So it's like, okay, I'm thinking these thoughts. And then you ask yourself, is that true? And then sometimes it is true. So yeah, it is true. And then you ask yourself, how does it make me feel when I think it's true? Who am I when I think it's true? What I do, what I say, how I feel. And
Mhm.
then you go further. It's like, what would I be like if I didn't think it's true?
Mhm.
Is there a possibility? Maybe that's kind of like something else might be true, or how do I feel when I let go of that thought
Mhm.
as the absolute truth?
Yeah.
And then you turn it around and actually make it like, oh, he shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. Or he should
Mhm.
have said that. So it's kind of very radical. So Byron Katie and my latest teacher and who I follow is Dr. Sue Morter and
Mhm.
her book, The Energy Codes.
Mhm.
So that is basically what puts everything together for me. All these
Oh,
previous
nice.
studying Reiki and then mindfulness and Buddhism and meditation and all this kind of stuff, that made me embody it,
Okay.
getting out of the head as knowledge
Mhm.
and actually being it and feeling it, living it in the body, doing my central channel breath, holding the mula bandha,
Mhm.
and just living it. And that was huge help. That's why I went and took a course, and now I'm certified energy codes coach
That's
and
awesome.
facilitator. So if anybody wants to learn about that and then in front of the group or something, I can have 3 hours one day, whatever,
Mhm.
sessions to teach all these stuff. There's so much stuff. I can't really go on to it. How to release these limiting, let's call them limiting beliefs and blockages. There is a technique how we can use that, but you can't do it in a radio setting or sort of like
Mhm.
listening to, because there's a lot of images and pictures and actually body positions we can release without talking. That's why I like it,
Mhm.
because even though I'm talking nonstop, but I'm kind of trying to teach what's going on. But when I talk to my clients or when I work with clients one on one, they don't need to go into all these stories.
Right.
They can just start feeling it. Where do I feel it in the body when I say that?
Mhm.
And then we just work through it and it lets go. Try to be really upset. Something, just try it next time. Somebody cuts you off and you get upset. You're a really cool person, very calm. I don't know if you ever get upset, but but if that happens for any reason,
Mhm.
just go into your mula bandha and start breathing up and down and
Mhm. Okay.
see if you can be angry or upset at all anymore. Like you
Mhm.
just physically, if you even can't.
Changes. Yeah.
It's so weird.
Oh, it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think the more busy we get in society, the more inundated we are from all the different elements that are being sent to us all day long through social media, through the news, through anything. I believe we're overloaded in the sensory, right? And it's hard to separate that and to feel one with yourself when you've got all of these outside forces putting ideas into your mind, because we think a lot. And
Yes.
it takes you down a path for sometimes years, or it could just take you down the path for that moment, but really set the rest of the tone for that day, because you've set that into your subconscious and now it's there. And so as you're talking about, I believe that too, that our conscious mind is fed by our subconscious. What we're thinking feeds into our subconscious, which then turns into how our body is responding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, well, I know that's why I believe that we can absolutely control our health, because it's what I'm telling my body about its condition that's
Yeah.
allowing me to be able to either heal it or feel pain or suffering or disease and things like that. And I started really understanding the physiology of that through Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
But I also started understanding how I can feed in my mind just a different scenario to get a different result in my health. And,
Yeah.
for me at this stage of my life, health is the essence. I want to live a long, healthy life. I see myself living for many, many more years. So if I can find ways to be able to bring my own energy into my body to be able to heal anything that I feel is out of whack or that may be there that I can just have released, why not do that? Um, That's just
Yeah,
one of my philosophy on it. Other people have different philosophies, but I truly believe that that's the essence of living a long, healthy life.
exactly. And our society promotes more of like looking for what's the problem, what's wrong, and then we go in and try to fix it
Mhm.
instead of just being with it. And I actually, that's one thing I did too in my life. In my 40s, I had my back was so bad because I have six lumbar vertebrae and the pinched nerve was there. So I thought
Mhm.
I'm never going to walk again, never going to do anything. But I didn't really buy into the medical opinion of being
Right.
on painkillers or getting surgery or whatever. I just thought I'm just gonna see what happens. And I did my breathing exercises and instead of trying to get rid of it, I actually really embraced it. And
Mhm.
almost like I said, squeeze it, squeeze and breathe, breathe and squeeze. I squeeze that area from inside and it's like, I know, I hear you. I'm breathing through it. I'm breathing life into it, breathing the light
Mhm.
into it and sort of smoothing it out and visualizing, thinking like what it would feel like or what it would feel like in the body when I didn't have pain. And there's pain is gonna be gone. Also, of course, we have to move the body. Like this is why I do the Qigong exercises that we need to move the body. We can think of it healthy, but we need because we do have the body, we need to move it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it gets stagnated. It's all about energy, right? It's like
Right.
water stays put for a while and doesn't have movement, it gets all stagnated and moldy, and then
Mhm.
green stuff grows there. So we need to move it. We need to
Right.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're, sort of wrapping up right now, one question I want to be able to dig into, because I really work with a lot of women that are 50 plus that, I'm working with them on tapping back into their passions, because we kind of lose touch of who we are, I believe, as we're going through our life, where we're looking after everybody else. We're, being the good mom, we're being the great wife, we're looking after the household, we're making sure the children get what they need, we're making sure the spouse gets what he needs. We're probably having a great career. And yet we get to this stage of our life and we're like, well, who am I? Is this all there is to life now that I've got an empty nest and I may or may not even like my partner at this point in my life because we've lost touch with them in that relationship. So I like to work with people our age range that are really wanting to tap back into their passion, their purpose, and their joy. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, what is our purpose here on earth?
Oh, what is the purpose? Don't we all want to know? Um, I think, and that's my personal opinion, that the purpose here is to remember who we are,
Mm.
and not a human being only, but actually being human, being the dollop of consciousness momentarily residing in this body. Get in touch with that part of ourselves and just remembering us as the divine beings and energy beings and sort of like become awake to this part of us. And especially when we get older and we don't need to do all this hustle and bustle, we can
Mhm.
relax and not to go to work, and the kids are grown up, and then the main work starts,
Mhm.
which is working on ourselves,
Right.
sitting on our bottoms, breathing, exercising, meditating, doing this work, what I'm proposing to do, to get into the bodies and just use that time not to
Mhm.
start chasing. Oh, I don't have a passion, I don't know what to do, what is the next thing I have to do. First, to get out of sitting here in the seat of the soul, which is the lower belly, the pelvic bowl,
Mhm.
the womb of your soul and your spirit, and just sit here and it's like, what if it's okay for me to just sit for a while and see what I'm all about? What
Mm.
is my purpose? There is different purposes. The purpose, what do we do as a human being, and the purpose as a soul, to bring the soul back into this body, not trying to get out of it, but bringing the enlightened self
Mhm.
that we are into this body and do the work because now we have the time. And then, lo and behold, you find a passion because you actually connected to the heart and
Mhm.
your personal power, which is your solar plexus, and your belonging and your connection with others. And then hearing the truth and then speaking the truth of yourself, and you actually speak up. It's like, hey, it's not good for me anymore. I don't want it. But it
Mhm.
doesn't come from anger.
Right.
It comes from love because we're opening the heart. And it's like, ah, yes, it's not
Mhm.
cool anymore. I don't want it. And I
Right.
walk away from whatever it is, or I make it work
Mhm.
and then enjoy it and find the passion with this old husband of ours,
Mhm.
whatever, or the life situation. Yeah, that's what I think that the purpose is to find not the physical protective personality, the ego part, with things like we need to protect ourselves
Mhm.
and everybody is against us and the life is over now and it's like all there is to do is just sit and watch TV now. Nothing wrong with that either if that brings you joy.
Mhm.
Go for a walk, get some fresh air, run the dog or whatever, and then come sit watch TV with your husband and hold hands. That's fine too. We don't need to conquer the world and feel like again, something is missing.
Mhm.
Nothing is missing.
No.
We're perfect already now.
Mhm.
I don't know if it
Beautiful.
answers your question, but it's,
Well, I think we'll end on that because I think that's the whole essence of life is to really just be with oneself and to be confident and feel fulfilled within your own body and within your own mind and the beauty that you bring forward. Because comparison doesn't do any but good for anybody because we all travel our own journey, and that soul purpose is what I think a lot of us are striving for, is what is my soul purpose? And some of us have been grateful enough to receive direction on that, and some of us are still struggling to find that out. So I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. I think you've not only shown us some practices, but told us why this is so important for us to pay attention to it, and at any age. It doesn't have to be once we get to the 50 plus range or wait until that time. The sooner you can understand this, the more beautiful of a life you're going to create for yourself. And so I really
yeah.
appreciate you coming today and sharing all of your goodness with us. And so now how can people connect with you, Tiiu?
Oh, that's a good question, I guess. So you can reach me at, we should probably have like links or
Yeah,
somewhere
I'll put the links
after,
in
somewhere in
the,
the link
yeah,
there.
I'll put
So
them
my
in the notes.
email is the way to now.net.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want to be in the now. So the way
Mm.
to now.net. And that is my email. You can also call me, send a message, my
So they
phone
can find you on
number.
LinkedIn. Are you
Oh
on
yeah, LinkedIn, my
Facebook?
name, Tiiu Wise. Facebook, I can give you a link and then you can
Okay.
get into Facebook. I post somewhere there. I'm not big on social media. It's another story. It's sort of
Mhm.
energy sucking place
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
well, but it also can be a good thing. I even have
Mhm.
a Facebook group.
Yeah.
Now, so yeah, um,
Yeah, so there's a few
can
different
find
ways
me
that
on,
people can find you.
you
You
can
have a
find
unique
me.
name, Tiiu Wise, Tiiu, which I can see
Hmm.
on the screen right now. But I think we'll definitely put those links down for everybody. But if you are curious, if you are wanting to find out a little bit more about some of the practices, or there's something here that's resonated with you that you're like, that's the missing link. I really need to explore this. Or you know what? I'm just curious. I want to be able to understand how this works. I want to understand how these breathing techniques work. And let me test it to see if it does feel like it makes a difference for me. Then Tiiu is your lady. So I really appreciate you sharing all of that with us today, Tiiu. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And I wish you so much success and joy in your life.
Thank you so much, Sally. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We have these conversations. We never know where to take us.
Exactly. And
And
we have lots of them.
appreciate and all the best to you as well and your followers. And we just, and it's not easy. I just wanted to mention that we
Mm,
don't just one day decide that we're going to be all centered and all here. It's a daily practice. It's the
mhm.
work. when we start now, after we retired, that the work starts,
Yeah.
the
And
true
why not?
work.
And why not? Awesome.
All the best. Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Tiiu.
Okay.